Hello, all my ghouls and goblins. I am your host, David, and welcome to Terrible Reviews, where I take all my horror collection, spin a wheel, and review whatever the fates decide we watch. For the very first film today, I honestly could not be happier that it landed on something not only have I not watched before, but is also a cult hit if the internet is to be believed. Today, we're watching Re-Animator. This one was directed by Stuart Gordon and written by H.P. Lovecraft, starring Jeffrey Combs as our protagonist, lead mad scientist Dr. Herbert West. Bruce Abbott is also in this as relatable, but maybe a bit too trusting Dr. Dan Kane, and Barbara Campton as his girlfriend, who gets strung along pretty much for the journey. Will Re-Animator be terrifying or terrible? Let's find out.
You killed him. No, I did not. I gave him life.
First, let me give you a trigger warning. If you were wanting to watch this film with me before the review, there are scenes of SA towards the end of the film, as well as gratuitous nudity throughout the film. It's an unfortunate relic of the time period, but in my opinion does not take away from this film in particular. I'm looking at you, Rob Zombie's Halloween. But Re-Animator was released in 1985, and it is a film about the mad scientist Dr. West, who has figured out the secret to defeat brain death. The secret to immortality. Immortality. I don't know how the fuck to say that. But this is a horror movie. So, what could go wrong? As it turns out, this mystery green glowing substance can bring the dead back to life. But at what cost? The mind. At least for the first half of the film. But I'm not going to spoil that for you guys, and I'm not going to give a full synopsis of the film. I will just say that the majority of the movie, this substance brings back life, but the mind is not there. It's just violence. And it leads to a lot of gore and great special effects. I was honestly impressed. This film, again, released in 1985, and while this was a lower budget film, it managed to do a lot with the practical effects. The blood, the gore, everything was great. I loved every second that we had that on screen. Of course, this deals with doctors and stuff, so there are some medical gore as far as in the background and things like that. But this is also a horror comedy. So if you're going into this thinking like, hey, I'm looking for something scary and gory and just straight up horror, this isn't the film for you. But if you like a fun romp that kind of makes a little bit of fun at the zombie trope, this is a great film, and they did a wonderful job. Dr. West is amazing, and like one of the greater protagonist characters. While he is a mad scientist and does some evil shit and isn't all there in the head, obviously, I really like the performance that Jeffrey Combs gave. The same thing goes for Bruce Abbott and Barbara Campton. They did amazing, especially Barbara Campton. She had a lot of emotional scenes in the movie that she did amazing at, and actually made a little believable performance. The story is not entirely super strong in this, but it is carried by kind of the campiness of the film. So that was great. I genuinely really liked the film. Is it terrifying? Maybe if you're not into gore. Is it terrible? In the best way possible. It is tongue-in-cheek. It knows what it is, and they definitely play on that a few times. There's a scene with one of the worst looking prop cats I've ever seen, that they do bring to life a little bit early in the film. But yeah, this movie, good. I was honestly surprised going into this. I mean, I had read a little bit on it. I honestly hadn't heard about it until I'd seen it at the store, and I was like, it's a horror movie. Let's pick it up, see what it's about. Did a little bit of research, saw that a lot of people online like it, and I can see why. It's horror, it's camp, it's fun, and it's overall a great time. If you're thinking about checking it out, or if you haven't seen it before, I would definitely recommend giving it a watch. But before we end the review here, I did want to show one more clip from the movie. And it's probably one of my favorite transition and funniest transition that I've seen in a horror movie. But it involves Bruce and Barbara pretty early in the film. And I will give another trigger warning. This does involve a sex scene. Doesn't show anything, but I just want to give you a heads up. Let's go ahead and play the clip, and then we'll be back with our final on the review.
You gave me a seat in the class.
No. 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 Yes. Oh, yes. Oh.
And now we've reached the end of my review. But this is my first one, so how am I going to score these things? Well, I'll explain it now. We are going to do 4 categories, and these are the 4 that I think matter the most to me personally when it comes to horror movies. So 1 is terror, 2, gore, 3, the story, and then 4, the fun. So we're going to do a scale to 5, and we're just going to go from there. So, Re-Animator, the first one. What do I score the terror? We're going to go 2 pumpkins out of 5. What about the gore? We're going to give this one 4 pumpkins out of 5. I was really impressed. For the time period and for the budget, this one had, I believe, $900,000 on the budget. They did a great job. The story, again, going to go with 2 pumpkins. Wasn't the best, but, you know, it was serviceable. And then the fun. This one, for me, gets a 5 for fun. 5 pumpkins out of 5. It was a very fun film. I had a good time. I believe that you all will have a good time watching this film. And yeah, so what's next? I believe my rule for movies is if it's a box set, we're going to just do all the movies in the box set for the reviews instead of spinning again. That just makes it easier on me. So for this one, it came with the other 2 movies in the series. So we have Bride of Re-Animator and Beyond Re-Animator. Those are going to be the next 2. Of course, Bride comes next, released in 1990, and then Beyond, released in 2003. And we'll see how those goes. Hopefully, they can keep the camp up. They can keep that going. Maybe the story gets better. Maybe the gore gets better. Who knows? We'll find out next time on Terror Reviews. Have a wonderful and spooky night. Terrible reviews.